John Caudwell is the founder of Phones for You and has run businesses of up to 30,000 employees. He joins us now. John, morning to you.
Good morning.
Just on that narrow point before we broaden it out a little bit, should businesses be compelled to hand staff pro-union material? Should that be a thing the government regulates?
No, I really don't think so. I think it's just increasing bureaucracy. And most people know they can join a trade union if they want to. In the 80s and 90s, the trade unions used to camp outside of my business, campaigning the employees to join the union. And they never got anything like a vote because I just said to the employees all the time, I said, the best way of running this business is a meritocracy where you get pay rises that are individual and not mass bargaining, which the unions would take over. So I don't think unions I don't think unions ought to be more involved in British businesses. I think the power of them is sufficient, and I think the balance between unions, employees and employers is about right at the moment.
And also people can just Google it if they're interested, can't they? Find out, Google the union, they'd find out some information.
Yeah, I mean, it's no problem for anybody that wants to join a union. I think in my case, there was probably only about 5% of employees that thought about joining a union because they just felt they'd be better off in the meritocracy that I ran. And the government go on about the bad employers. Well, there probably are some bad employers, but I don't think we should paint everybody, all the employers, with that brush, which potentially makes Britain less investable. And without doubt, this bill, this employee rights bill in general, will cause unemployment. It will cause employers to be more cautious about taking people on. And we should all be cautious now because we have to make sure we get great employees. But at least when you've got a degree of protection under the law, you can take that employee down dismissal without fear of it being a court case.
So the government wants to introduce measures to guarantee unlimited compensation in cases of unfair dismissal. That seems to be something that's going to be added to this bill. Is that something?
Yeah, well, of course, what that means is that the judicial system would have complete authority to do whatever they wanted to, and maybe that's fair if we've got good judges who judge things sensibly, but I think unlimited is a terrifying word, isn't it? I mean, terrifying phraseology. What does that really mean for an employer who does get it wrong? And I think back to my day when I was employing all of those thousands of people. I did have the odd bad manager who got things wrong, and we did have one or two unfair dismissal claims, and one or two were actually bona fide and we had to pay out, and that's fair enough. We should do. If we mismanage the business and we mismanage employees, we should have to pay out. But an unlimited number is a bit ridiculous. It feels very draconian.
You said the employment rights bill is going to lead to unemployment. Do you think that it's that plus employer national insurance plus the increase in minimum wage? Are you worried that the policies that's come out of this Labour government are less likely to lead to growth in terms of numbers of people at work, or actually lead to people being cut in terms of the people at work?
Without doubt, what we've seen in the previous budget and now this budget and the employee rights bill, without doubt that is going to lead to less employment. It may not be less than we've got at the moment because the government are in some ways doing a very good job of attracting inward investment, although they could do a lot better. But that might mask the situation. But that's the way to win, not employee rights bill. The way to win is attract so much inward investment that the people coming into this country, the inward investors, are fighting for employees, not wishing to be unfair to them, but wishing to be very fair to them, give them a great job and a great career and a great future. And that's the way for Britain to prosper, for employees to be protected, and from the whole country to do better.
The argument will be put to you, John, you must have heard this before, is that you're a very successful man and you should be credited for that, but you are now a very rich man. Can a man with his own yacht really understand a person on 0 hours contracts who needs greater protection from the state?
Well, I don't think you need much intellect, whether you're a billionaire or whether you're on the breadline, to understand the benefits, the negatives and the positives about 0 hours. One of my employees was vehemently against the reduction of 0 hours because it gave her an ability to, when she was at university, to just do a day here, a day there, and it worked flexibly in her favour, as well as it may be potentially being against some people. So I think tinkering with all of these things doesn't really do any good. And if you get rid of them, there'll be just less employment and employers will manage without. And it's a very, very simple situation that is negative to the average British worker.
So the government should butt out is really what you're saying here. One of the best ways of helping business to thrive is to butt out.
Yeah, there's too much messing about with employment and the employers and the employees. If it was the 70s, 60s, then when Margaret Thatcher reduced the union power, that was a positive thing. Should we be reducing union power now? No, I think it's a good balance. So I think what happens now is very good for most businesses. But of course, the unions, who've always been big supporters of Labour, want more members because they need revenue from membership fees. So this will be very much a union to get the government to introduce these rights so they can grow the membership. It's not in the interest of the British worker on average. It may benefit some where you've got a bad employer involved, but it's not going to benefit the majority.
You've supported Labour in the past. I know you've donated to the Conservative Party in the past as well, but I think you voted Labour last time. Has it been as good as you wanted it to be?
Well, I didn't really ever think, was it going to be as good as? I saw Labour as a combination of the lesser of the evils, given that the Tories especially had such a bad run in office and didn't really look fit to govern the country anymore. And I did like the rhetoric coming from Keir and Rachel Reeves about growing business. And I do think they're absolutely desperate to grow business, but I think there's a certain element of being misguided. And the Employers' Rights Bill is part of that misguidance. It's not driven by all members of the party, but it is driven by a few. And I think the House of Lords will continue to modify it to make it a little bit more tolerable. But nonetheless, whatever eventually gets passed is going to be negative for employment in Britain.
Are they captured by the left? Is that what you're saying here? That the left of the party seems to be.
Well, there's clearly a very strong left-wing influence in the Labour Party. And my only wish would have been that a combination, Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer and others that are more towards the right would have stopped some of these things happening. But of course, the Employee Rights Bill was in the Labour manifesto, so we can't be too shocked that that's been brought forward.
Are you tempted at all by reform, John Caudwell?
No, I'm not. I couldn't vote for anybody that's climate sceptic. I've met Richard Tice several times. I've met Nigel Farage. What Richard Tice says is often very, very accurate and correct, but I couldn't vote for climate deniers. They're not deniers, but they're climate sceptics and think that net zero is going to damage the UK economy. And I look at it very differently, that if we attract inward investment from all over the world in high technology space, especially in the environmental space, in the future, we'll have a huge amount of exportable products, both intellectual property and the physical products themselves, and make Britain more prosperous out of the environment rather than poorer.
Yeah, a bit of optimism to end on. John, great to speak to you as ever. Thanks for taking the time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
That's John Caudwell there, founder of Phones for You, run businesses of up to 30,000 employees. Very, very clear message. The measures taken by this government will lead to greater unemployment.